Yes, that's okay. So welcome everyone to the second session of the Terraform with Azure training. So yesterday, actually, we look at the foundation of the Terraform. So I tried to explain, what is the Terraform, when to use the Terraform, and what is the Terraform configuration. I mean the syntax, and also I try to explain what's the resources, what is the providers, and what's the state. Of course, I show just the local state, but today I'm gonna go to a little bit deep dive of the remote state using, and also we're gonna look at give me a second, yeah, the import variables, and also we're gonna look at, as I mentioned, remote states using. So for this one, of course, we're gonna use the Azure Blob Storage. But if you would like to use the AWS or Google Cloud or any other, the cloud vendor, so you can use their, the storage account also. But because of this, because of the main purpose of this training is Terraform with Azure, so we're gonna use the Azure Blob Storage. So first of all, I would like to explain what is the Terraform import and when we're gonna use this Terraform import. So normally, if you would like to import your existing infrastructure, so you have to use the Terraform import commands. But this command, of course, is not working alone. So when you type the Terraform import command, so you have to show the which resource and the which resources ID. So I'm going to show how we can use, but if you have the existing environment, so and if you would like to use this existing environment in your Terraform state file, so you can use the Terraform import command. So, and then when you run the Terraform plan and Terraform apply, and you can verify, all the existing infrastructure are already import or not. So uh, we have so many dependencies, of course, so you have to be careful about these dependencies. For example, if you have some, the network security groups, and if these network security groups, if it is attached to subnets, so you have to import every, the resources. So you have to be careful about dependencies, and you have to be careful about, this important import comments. So if you forget something, the sub-level resources. So maybe when you run the Terraform apply command, so you can remove your existing infrastructure. So you have to be careful about this one. So I would like to show you about how we can use this Terraform command. So let me open my lab environments. Give me a second. Okay, so everybody can see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. So let's open Visual VS Code again. We have an empty folder. So yeah, it's already choose this one. So let's create a main.tf file. By the way, if I go to the portal.azure.com, so you can see my existing environment. So I have one resource group. In this resource group, I have one virtual network and one NSG, which is the network security group. And in this network security group, I have two inbound rules, one for the 443, one for the 80. And then this network security group is also attached to the subnet too. So let's write the main TF file and let's see what will happen. So to give a second. So let's start with the Terraform and then required providers. So Azure RM, and our source is HashiCorp. Azure RM. And then the version is, let's say, 240. Okay, then. And we should type the provider, Azure RM. Yeah, and then feature, we can use it. So let's try to create the resource, which is the resource group. Azure RM resource group. And let's call this one RG. And we can use the name. What was the resource group name? Demo 08. So, and then our location is North Europe. Okay, resource group done. So let's create another resource, which is the network security group. Network, I forget, Azure RM, network security group. And let's call this one NSG. And the name of this network security group is NSG01. NSG01, and the location, actually, location, we can use the Azure RM resource group dot location, and also the resource group name is Azure RM resource group RG dot name. So this is okay. So let's add one security rule. And this security rule name is, copy here, hello HTTPS we can type some description. So let's say same one, priority. We have to define a number. I believe we use 100. Okay. So 100. And then direction is inbound. Access will be hello. The protocol will be TCP. Source port range, let's say 443, and then destination. By the way, you can find these all attributes in the HashiCorp websites. You just need to type, in the Google or whatever you're using for the search engine. So you just need to write, the Azure NSG with Terraform, and you can see every kind of, the attributes in there. Some of them is you have to use as a required. Some of them is optional, of course. But you can find all of them in these websites. So this will be a 443 also. And then the final one, not final, sorry. source address prefix will be, let's say, all IP, and then destination address prefix will be the same. Okay, then, and we can create one more. So let's copy this one and paste here. So why it's not like we missed something maybe? Is there a typo here? So give me a second. Azure RM, NSG, okay, security rule. Azure RM, network security group. Where's the tab issue? Line which? This one you want to say? No, it's still, let's say, it was already line 24. Okay, that's correct. We missed something, but let's complete first. Let's call the HTTP, and the priority will be 110. This is 80. This is 80. So let's save all. No, rule name now different. And priority is different now. The argument security rule was already set. Interesting. Okay, let's continue, and maybe we can find later. So let's create a resource, Azure RM, this virtual network, and let's call this one the VNet. So let's say the name of the VNet. What was the name of the VNet? This guy. And so the location, let's copy here, and the resource group. And let's create subnet. Let's say the subnet name is subnet 1. And also, oh, sorry, we forget in here address space. So address space will be 20.0.0.0/16. And the same for here, we're going to use address prefix. So this will be 20.0.0.0/24. It doesn't like in here also, I believe. Let's say the name subnet 2. So this will be the one. Okay, so and also we need to attach this complete, and after that, let's look at this one. Security group. And this will be Azure RM network security group dot nsg dot id. NSG, the right name. Okay, so looks like correct. So what you say, Mohammed? Security rule, is there a queue that has to be deleted? Where is that? Ah, yeah, you're right. Same for the subnet also. Yep. Okay, that now looks like fine. So let's type my tenant ID and sign in. And also let's type my subscription because I have multiple subscription in here. Okay, then. So let's start Terraform init. So normally we have an environment. We have resource group, VNet, subnet, and NSGs. But let's try to run Terraform apply. So what we're gonna do, if everything's match, so if you are not miss anything, so let's double check. Demo 08 North Europe, NSG 01. Okay, hello HTTPS 443. Okay, hello HTTP 110, TCP 8080, and this is our VNet and the VNet name and the subnet 1 and subnet 2, and NSG also attached to subnet 2. Let's check subnet. Yes, NSG also attached to subnet 2. So if we run to Terraform apply, normally it must be says, the okay, line 45. Destination we forget port range. Same for this one. Okay, now save again. Let's run the Terraform init and Terraform fmt, Terraform init again, and let's say Terraform apply. You see, it will says in the state file, it says it will create resource group, VNet, and also the NSG with the security rules. So let's say yes. So it says, they already exist. So let's try to import, these resources and try to run again. Because when we go to TF state file, the TF state file doesn't know our existing environment. So for this one, we have a format. So you have to use, for example, Terraform import commands, and then you have to write a provider, for example, Azure RM network security group, and the network security group name is NSG. And after that, you have to type existing infrastructures or resources, resource ID. So how we can find this resource ID? You can go to the portal, and then you can click the resource. And if you go to the properties, you can see the resource ID in here. So you just need to copy and paste here. So let's copy and let's import NSG. So what it says, Azure RM network security group. Sorry, not underscore, it must be dot here. Yeah. And let's write the same for the VNet. So Terraform import Azure RM virtual network dot VNet, and we need to copy VNet ID. We can find in the properties. By the way, you can see the import successful. So let's run for the VNet. And this one also import successful. So I will not run the Terraform apply, but I can run the Terraform plan. So what do you think? What will happen when I run the Terraform plan? So we already imported 2 resources. Yeah. See, it says network security group will update it in place, but it will be says, yes, Azure RM resource group will be created, because statefile still doesn't know, the resource group in there. So we need to import resource group also. So for this one, we can run Terraform import Azure RM resource group .rg, and we need to copy resource group. This resource group ID. So let's run this guy. Let's wait. Yeah, this is successful already. So let's run the Terraform plan again. Yes, you see, at least it will not create anything, but it will create one, it will change one things. I believe so we made a mistake. It's not match the existing environment which we're writing, just update this one. But at least you can see it will not create any resources, because if we go to the Terraform state file, you can see the resource IDs in here. By the way, Terraform state file is totally JSON. So it's not the Terraform language or Golang. So every resource ID you can find in here. So where is the virtual network one? Yeah, virtual network is also in here. And subnet is also in here. One, Ankit, you're right, the subnet creation only. It's not because the subnet has no resource ID. Subnet's also in the VNets, so it doesn't need to be defined the subnets. I think it's not matched with hello HTTP. Let's check the NSG one. Hello HTTP. This looks same, but I think we missed something. Anyway, so the import command is works, so you can see the 0 add in here. So by the way, if you would like to destroy, of course, you can use the Terraform destroy command, and then you can delete the existing environment because this existing environment is already in the TF state file. So which means you can use the destroy commands. So let's keep in there and let's go to the another important subject is, where's this one? Terraform, the variables. So actually Terraform variables, or the variables, let's say the variables, are fundamental construct in every programming language. It's not just for the Terraform, because they are inherently useful in building the dynamic programs. So we can use variables to store temporary values so that they can assess programming logic in the simple as well as the complex program. So before we go dive into various type of variables, so it's helpful to think of the complete Terraform configuration as a single function. So as far as variable are concerned, so we use them with the function in the form of arguments. So return values and the local variables. So these are actually analogs to input variables. So and also the output variables and the local variables in Terraform. So normally variables allow us to easily modify the Terraform configuration with the minimal change, of course, the code change. So variables normally are an essential part of making reusable code across multiple deployments and or maybe across multiple environments. So variable blocks start with, of course, the word of variable, as you can see in here. After that is the local name for the variable in the double quotes. For example, a variable name is the location. The local name is reference in the resource that used to, the variable. So arguments for the variables are wrapped in the curly brackets. So we have the curly brackets like every Terraform block. So and the arguments could be in the different blocks. For example, we can use the type. So the data type for the variable could be a string or the number or the boolean. So the setting data type is optional, but recommend for the inputs, the validation. And we can use the default. The default argument applies, the unless another value is specified during the deployment. So the setting a default value makes the variable is optional. So we can use also the description. Of course, description is optional, but is recommended to use because it's good for the documenting your code. So and also we can use the validation. I think we don't have in the screen anyway. So we can use the validation. A validation block creates input rules for the variable. So you can use with type and the description block to add the validation rules to your variable. And also maybe we can use the sensitive. The sensitive block limits the output of the variable, so it's not a viewable in your CLI. So you can use this one for your passwords or for your secrets in the variable. So normally we can leave all the variable blocks in the main TF file, but uh, it will it will be helpful to move this one to another file. So normally Terraform tracks all TF files, .tf files in a same directory. Terraform treats as a one file, so shifting the variable into a different file so makes the code more maybe the readable for us, so maybe and also we can use, for example, variable.tf files, or we can use, the another name, and but you can use the same file extensions like your main TF file. So we could modify the default values for the variables with each deployment, but of course that's not how a variable is supposed to work. So default values should only use when it's likely that the default value will be unchanged across the deployment. So a better alternative, actually, to passing variables at the command line is a variable definition file. So a variable definition sets variables overriding the default values and set in the variables TF file. So the name of the variable definition file can be this one, terraform.tf or any file name followed by a auto.tf vars file. So you can use the variable, but also you can use the terraform.tf vars. So we're gonna use the same one. We're gonna use the same, the example. So I hope you will see in the details. So both options actually will automatically be applied to the configuration. So, and also we have one more variable options, which we call the locals. Actually, locals work much like a variables, but we create a code block with the name, value pairs, and the reference that name in the code. So, however, actually, the locals have a different use case for from variables. So they are intended for repeating expression in the code that many change. So, for example, we use the locals in here, and we would like to use the tag, and this tag key and value environments lab owner and owner. So we can use this tag variable. Actually, it's called in the locals. So we can use the same one in the resource, availability set resource, and also we can use the same tag in the Azure RM public IP resources, as you can see, tag equal locals tag. So let's use this variables options in a different scenario. So give me a second. I can open my screen. So stop sharing. And yeah, share my screen. Okay, let's go file, open folder, and let's say lab 2. So in here, so let's do a different scenario. So first of all, let's create variables .tf, and also we're gonna use main.tf, and also we're gonna use Terraform .tf parse file, and also we're gonna use another TF file which is providers.tf. So for providers.tf, actually we can use the providers command in here. So let's say the Terraform required version, version is greater than 1.0, and then required providers Azure RM the source will be HashiCorp Azure RM, and version, let's say version, let's say greater than 3.0. Okay, so and also we need to define, yeah, provider. Provider will be Azure RM, and the features we can use this one. Okay, then let's save this one. So I will not use this provider section in the main TF. I use this one in a different file, which is the providers.tf. So let's go to the variable and let's type our variables. So let's say variable, and this variable will be prefix. Sorry. And let's say some description. I'm going to use this one, the prefix use for all resources, and also I will use some variable which is the location, and this will be the Azure location for all resources. So let's save this one. We have just two variables, and in the Terraform TF files, so I just define the prefix, and the prefix will be under, and the location will be North Europe. Normally, I can use this one, in here, like a default, and I can say, for example, under here, but I don't want to use this one in the variable TF files because, I would like to use, for example, this deployment in my different environment for production, for, for the test environment, for the, I don't know, the non-prod environment. So I don't want to use the same name in the all environment. So because of that, I'm not using the default block. So I'm using the TF-var files. So I can create multiple TF files because it's easy to write, as you can see. So for the production, for the, I don't know, UAT, for the test, for the non-prod environment. And after that, I can use this TF-var files for my variables. So let's now create the main TF files. So let's save this one. Let's go to main TF. So I don't need to write the provider block, Terraform provider block. So I can start with a great resource, which is the Azure RM resource group. And the name could be RG again. And for the name of this resource group, let's use the prefix variable. And I would like to merge this one with another word. Say dollar, curly brackets, let's say var dot prefix, and let's say RG. And the location, I'm going to use var dot location. So this is my resource group. And let's create a VNet, Azure RM virtual network. And this virtual network name is first VNet. And the name, I'm going to use the same one. But this one, I say is network 1. Resource group will be Azure RM resource group rg.name. And location, we can use var.location, or we can use the Azure RM rg.location, and then address space, will be 10.0.0.0/24. And let's create a one subnet here. So subnet name, subnet 1, and then address prefix, let's say standard 0.0.0/24. Okay, this is the first VNet. And then let's create another VNet. This could be the second one. And let's say the network 2. And let's say the IP address, for example, 192.168.0.0. Yeah, here, /24. You can leave the subnet name same, it's not a big deal. So let's create a VNet peering between these two VNets. So let's start with a resource, and the resource is Azure RM virtual network peering. And this peering will be first to second. And the name of this one will be the same, first to second. Resource group name will be Azure RM resource group rg.name, and the virtual network name is Azure RM virtual network first VNet dot name, and then remote virtual network ID will be Azure RM virtual network second VNet dot ID. And of course, I'm going to allow the traffic between these two network. So I need to define allow virtual network access will be true. And if you want, I can allow the forward traffic. I can say true. We don't have the VPN gateway. So allow gateway transit, let's say false. So we create one peering. It's just one way, first to second. And let's copy this one. And let's paste here. And let's say second to first. Copy here. But this time I would need to use virtual network Azure RM, which is the second one. That name. But for the remote one, I have to use the first one dot ID. And also, this is the second VNet, so I can use the use remote gateways, so false. I think we are ready. So let's look at again. So we have one providers file. So I define the providers section in this file. And also we have variables. In this variables, we have one prefix, one location variables, but I didn't use any, the variables value in here. I didn't use the default. So I didn't say, what's the location or what's the prefix. So I use this one in the TFVAR files because it's easy to read. It's human friendly. So, and if you were, as I said, if you would like to use this one in multiple environments, so you can use the TFVAR files. And also in the main TF, I just define the resources in here. So I will have one resource group, and this resource group name must be start with prefix -rg, which means under. So the name will be under-rg, and also the same for the VNet 1 and same for the VNet 2. And also I create a peering between this virtual network. So let's save again. Sorry. And let's go to terminal. And let's say Terraform init. By the way, I'm not sure, maybe I have this. Okay, I don't have. So let's say Terraform plan. That's 5 resource will be great. So what is this one? VNet peering 1, VNet peering 2, VNet 2, VNet 1, and the resource group. So let's run Terraform apply. By the way, I'm sure you see that we're still using the local TF file, TF state file. So after this example, I'm going to show you how we can use the remote TF state file. Let's say yes. Still creating network peering. Resource group created, and we have 2 virtual network. They all use my prefix, as you can see, and they use the location variable. Let's go to the VNet 1 and let's check the peering created. And let's go to the second one and let's check the peering. It's also created. So let's destroy and let's look at the Terraform remote states. I think I have one storage account in here. Yeah, I can use this storage account. And in container, I have one container TF state file. So let's upload one file in here. Give me a second. It's one file, and I can call demo dot terraform dot tf state. So I created on my desktop in empty TF state file. You just need to create this one, and after that you can use so as you can see it's a 0 byte inside is empty. You just need to create text file and change the name and the extension, file extension, and you can upload your Azure Blob storage, and then you can use this file for your state file. So by the way, it will be destroy all resources. So let's say yes. By the way, as I said, the Terraform is totally manage and create this Terraform state file. Now it's still working. Because of that, we cannot open. By default, this Terraform name is terraform.tfstate, but you can use the other name also, like I use in my environments demo.terraform.tfstate. And as I said, it's in the JSON format. But also you can use the remotely. So remotely using, of course, is the better options, because when you use the local state file, okay, it will simply use, and you don't need any additional configuration. But the remote state file is better because it's good for the multiple users, and if it's good for the multiple Terraform workspace, and also it's a if you have the security concern, so it's good for your, the secure deployment options, because uh, you can easily manage who can access this container and the storage accounts with the role-based access policies. You can create, for example, manage identity or system identity for your Azure environment, and you can access this TF state file with this identities. So okay, it's you need the additional configuration, and also maybe you need the additional cost, but I don't think so. It will be too much expensive, because it's just the storage accounts, and almost empty storage accounts, because it's just a file, and in the file we have just the JSON format files, so it will be not so much expensive. But if you still consisting about using the local state file, so I totally not recommend to use your production environment, and it's not the good for the multiple users, and it's not good for the multiple Terraform workspace or Terraform environment. So let's use this file. By the way, let's check. Yeah, the story is complete. Let's check, refresh under dash RG resource group con. So let's go to here, and let's come to my lab 2, and let's delete TF state backup, TF state, Terraform lock, and Terraform folder. So, of course, for this one, I have to show the remote state file, because if I run now Terraform initialize command, Terraform init command, it automatically try to create, try to install the Terraform, and then when I run the Terraform plan, it's automatically create the TF state file, local TF state file. So I don't want to use this one. So I want to use the remote state file. For this one, I can add backend and Azure RM. So first of all, I have to show the this storage accounts resource group name in here, and then I need to show the storage account name. Storage account name is this one, and then I need to show a container name. My container name is tstate. And then finally, I have to show tstate file. So my tstate file is this guy. Now let's save it. And let's run Terraform P, and let's run Terraform init. Okay, let's run the Terraform plan. Come on. Yeah, it says it will be create 5 resource, but as you can see, there is no TF state file. It's not create a local TF state file. So let's refresh it. As you can see, it's right in the remote one. So let's run the Terraform apply. And it's gonna use the remote TF state file, and it will be create these 5 resources in Azure. Let's say yes. I'm not familiar with the AWS or Google Cloud, but I believe so. You can type AWS and Google Cloud GCP for the providers, and the other ones almost same. You can look at the HashiCorp website. Of course, it's not just enough, to change the provider name, but I believe almost same. You can just the easily edit, and you can convert your code from Azure to the another cloud vendors. So we don't have any TF state file, as you can see. It's using the remote one. Yep, it's complete. So if we go, and if you can download, you can see the details in TF state file and also our resource in here. Great again. This is the peering. This is the another peering. Okay. Today's, I think, yes, we cover all the subjects, which is the Terraform import, Terraform variables, and Terraform remote state. Tomorrow it will be more interesting because we're going to look at the functions, loops, and maybe the conditional logics. Terraform without doing the import command for each resources. Yeah, Astify. Yeah, there's another tool. I didn't use before, but yes, you can use the Astify, and you can import all the resources. But you still need to use, I think so, resource IDs in here. You have to define the resource IDs. There are too many tools for supporting the Terraform, and also what was the Terraform graph? I believe so, right? The comment. Another comment here. Yeah. So it's created dot file. So you just can copy here after Terraform run, commands. You can copy this one and let's go to Google. Let's say graph dot this. So maybe we can use this one. Yeah, let's copy here. You can see, you can visualize your code, if you would like to use. You can just type the Terraform plan, and then you can type the Terraform graph and copy your code, graph code. And then you can come here. You can find, the many online graph editor. You just copy and you can see your code details in here if you would like to visualize. Because sometimes, your Terraform line could be more than 1,000. So it's if you would like to see dependencies, and the resources in one page, in a one single pane. So you can use this one also. But yes, Astify, this could be a useful. So I heard some of my customers use this one, but I don't have any experience about. But I will check. So any question? Okay, then. So if you have questions, just ping me, just send me an email. I'll try to answer. So thank you for joining the call, and see you tomorrow. As I said, tomorrow we have the little bit exciting demos, which is the functions one. So then in the last session, we're gonna look at the Terraform deployment with Azure DevOps. And after that, we're gonna complete. So today's session record, I'm gonna share tomorrow because I need to maybe edit and then upload to my YouTube channel. But I will share the tomorrow also. In chat file, of course I can share. No problem. Yes, you would go ahead.
Okay, can I speak?
Yeah, sure, of course.
Okay. Can you tell about the modules?
Yeah, tomorrow. Yes, sorry. Tomorrow. First, we're gonna start with the modules.
Okay.
And I'm gonna try to explain how you create your own modules and how you can use the existing modules you can find in the GitHub, and the HashiCorp repos. You can find many modules in there. I'm gonna show, and then also I will show the functions.
Okay. Another question.
Yeah.
We used to connect to Azure clouds with Terraform. Can you explain about it? Because in first day we used Azure ASP web app also use the connection string of web app, but today I couldn't follow all the course because
Actually, let me check. It's not in the subjects, but I can mention maybe tomorrow. So you would like to see the key vault using, right? Maybe the secret using.
Yeah, how can we connect to Azure with Terraform, but also secure the credentials at the same time?
Normally, it depends of your deployment. So
Okay.
if you deploy from your local environment with for example, VS Code or the Visual Studio Code, you can use the Azure PowerShell for the connection of the Azure environment. But if you use the Azure DevOps for the deployment, I'm going to show you how you can connect. So you need to use the service connection for this one. And also you need to use some managed identity. But the credentials ones is a different. So because normally when you use the credentials, for example, the password, for example, the connection strings or another secrets, so normally you have to type this one in your TF file, but it's not recommended, of course, because when you run your Terraform file, it will be run it will be right in your TF state file. Okay. So this is not, and anyone can reach out to your TF state file and look at your password and credentials. So for this one, you can use Azure Key Vault for your secrets. Okay, I will prepare another demo for how we can use your credentials in the Terraform. No problem.
Also, at the same time, if it is failed, can you can change my idea. Also, I think that today we log in Azure CLI first. Afterwards,
yes, exactly. Like this.
Afterwards we use the Terraform. Also, because of that, we have an I am talking Norwegian. Last days I am learning Norwegian. Because of that, sometimes it is difficult to speak English.
Yeah, no worries.
Instead of Norwegian. Okay.
Yes. I use the Terraform. I use the Azure CLI for connected to Azure environment. So
also,
because
we don't do anything to connect with Terraform.
No, because no, you don't need, because the Terraform doesn't need to connect your environment. Deployment needs to connect your environment. So you can deploy this Terraform with another tools, for example, Visual Studio Code, for example, Visual Studio or Azure DevOps. So this deployment environment needs to access your the Azure environment. But of course, sometimes, for example, if you use the remote TF state file, of course you can, restrict the access this kind of resources, because this resource is important because it's keep your TF state file. So for this one, you can use the manage identities, but for this one also you need to define these identities in the Terraform code. But don't worry, tomorrow I'm gonna show this ones.
Also, anything also. Can you also, when we use Terraform with pipeline, for example, with GitHub Actions, also we need to use an certification or something to connect GitHub Actions. Also, at the same time, we need to use Terraform in GitHub Actions. Can we make an example? How can we use?
I don't think so, because I don't have too much time about these ones. As I said at the beginning of this training, I'm not go to deep dive about the release pipeline. I will not create a YAML, for example. I'm going to show the portal. We can create the YAML, but it's another subject. Maybe I can, the prepare the DevOps training. I can explain in this ones, but for this, the trainings, we will just cover the foundation of Terraform and foundation of maybe the DevOps.
Okay.
So maybe in the advanced training, we can look at this one, because it's, the time is not enough.
Okay, thank you.
Everything. Yeah, no worries. But if you send an email, maybe I can answer. We can.
Okay, thank you very much.
Look at it separate. No worries. Okay, thank you all. I'm gonna share this example codes in the chat, so maybe you can look at. See you tomorrow. And I'm gonna stop the sharing and stop the recording. Thank you all.